sometimes the difference between a team playing really good hockey and not so good at hockey, like those margins are slim. And you see the Leafs, I mean, they're just miles away from how they started the season. The first 20 games were just shockingly bad. And by all accounts, they seem like they're finding something here. Have you been watching the Leafs a little bit? And what are you seeing about this recent turnaround?
Hey, I worked for the Leafs for 8 years, and that organization will never leave my blood. I've kept an eye on them every year that I've ever coached. I was even fortunate to play part of a year there a very long time ago. So, yeah, they're an interesting group. And you know what I think everybody has to realize there is, like, everything is not as good as it seems, and everything is never as bad as it seems. And in a season like that NHL season, you're playing every other day. It only takes one or two injuries or just a couple of guys to be off kilter just a little bit, and that can put you on the wrong side of the game. Like I've often said, that NHL, man, you could win every game of the season by one goal, and you could also lose every game of the season by one goal. That's how tight those margins are, and it's the challenge of the group and the organization to get on the right side of that margin.
This division in general, I think similar to yours actually out in Germany, very, very tight at the top, very tight overall. What have you made of the Atlantic Division right now? Because Rosie and I were talking about it earlier on. You could make a pretty definitive case for like 5 or 6 different teams still winning this division, which is crazy. I mean, we're almost in mid-December here.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it is tight. And I'm a big, and I know there's teams every year there's one or two teams on, an outlier in it, but I'm a big fan of the goal differential. I've been a big fan of that goal differential for a very long time. I think it really shows who is playing extremely well, who is suffering a lot, and who's kind of right in the middle. And, when I look at the Leafs there and where they're at in the standings, and with the injuries that they've suffered, I think Chiefs done a really great job of managing the storm and having the group move forward together. But when you've had your two goalies kind of go in and out of the lineup, and you've had some guys banged up on the back end, that's hard. Like, that's just enough to get on the wrong side of it. And as they get healthier and as the game plan is more consistent each and every night, that's when you can start climbing. And the great thing for the Leafs, it's not like they're 10 points out of a playoff spot. They're right there knocking on the door. And now the important thing is kind of to make sure you're winning every 2 out of 3 games moving forward for a little bit.
Yeah, and Dally, regardless of where a team's at, if they're doing well or not, like, a power play can facilitate so much if you've got it going. And the Leafs on paper should be a top 10 power play in this league, and they are about dead last. And it has been abysmal on that man advantage. As a coach, what do you do when you're seeing that night after night? Is your idea to reinvent the wheel, or do you stay course, or what would you do with this Leafs power play, which is just shockingly bad for a consistent amount of time?
Well, the thing that I think is really important on power plays is, you've got a coach. Obviously, the head coach is in charge of everything, but that power play is going to be someone else's prime responsibility. I'm not sure who that is with the Leafs, and nor does it matter. But like, for me, especially if things are going off kilter, but even with the really good power plays, I think that needs to be a conversation all the time. And I think it needs to be a conversation between, the coach that's running it and the players that are on the one unit and on the other unit. And where there's input and you're asking questions and, hey, what do you guys see here? What do you think would work? What are you guys comfortable with? And because when you get to that, the players have skin in the game now, and they feel like they're being heard. And I think they appreciate their opinions being facilitated. And you need to have a plan when you go out there. The old days of the power plays going out and going, okay, we got a couple plays here, let's see what we see. Power plays march out now going, hey, we're running play 1 and play 2. When we get in there, that's what we're going with right off the bat. So you need to be highly organized. But when things are suffering, I'm a big believer in like get right back to basics. Like, how do you score goals on a power play? And what are the simplest ways? And I think when you get back to basics, that's a really great starting point and starting something that may turn into something real special down the road.
The numbers are staggering, guys. 10 for 72 on the season are the Toronto Maple Leafs, which makes no sense considering the star power they have.
Yeah, but
the
can
one
I
thing
say
have
something?
noticed-
Like that,
Sure, go ahead.
can I jump in on that? That
Yeah.
doesn't matter now. Like,
No.
and you know what matters is their next game. And I know everybody's job is to go, hey, they're whatever 10 for 72, or they're this on the PK, or man, they haven't beat the, and I'm just throwing this out there, they haven't beat Minnesota in 5 years. But what does that even mean? Nothing matters. The only thing that matters was their day at practice today. Did they get better today? And then, okay, can they win the special teams war in their next game? Like, can they win that special teams battle in the next game? That's all that matters. And I think the more, and I hope they're not doing this, I hope they're not, the power players are, oh my God, we've only scored 10 goals or whatever it is. If you're doing that, you're not scoring again. You have to just focus on what's in front of you, and that's it, especially in that marathon season. You get caught up in anything that's gone great, you'll usually get complacent. You get diving into the negative numbers, you're screwed. You got to get to where your feet are real fast.
And that's so funny because that's the biggest difference I noticed from being on a team to being on the media side of it. And that's where that contention and animosity comes from the two sides, is exactly what you said. We don't care what it is. We're worried about today and what we're bringing to the table and trying to get better every day, where the media, they're going to go interview and they're going to bring up all the stuff that the team's trying not to focus on and leaving behind them, and they're not wasting energy on it. And it's too funny to hear you say that, because of course that's what they're thinking of. That's what comes to mind for you, being still in the game inside of the room. I can see where the contentiousness comes from the media to the locker room when you start talking about these types of things.
And you know what's interesting about this? It's been proven. Like, you know, I read a lot of stuff on psychology, and the thing you can't be is you can't be negative. And I'm not a keep it positive guy either. Like, hey, if it's positive, let's be positive. But if it's not going right, let's be neutral and let's find a solution to our challenge here. Because every little negative thing that you bring in, you hold on to it. You hold on to it, and it affects your confidence. It affects your mood. All those things that make players into being great. And so if you keep looking, let's use the power play again. If you keep looking at that number or that percentage, it's no good. If you keep going into interviews and you're constantly being pelted by this, you're taking it in. And it takes a great skill to get back into the now. And I think that's a place where the way these seasons are stacked up now for these teams, like, as much as you need a power play coach and you need a head coach and a PK, all this stuff, all of those coaches need to be greatly employed and greatly confident with their psychology skills, because they're going to really need to get their teams back on track and their minds in the right place quickly.
Fine. I'll never mention a statistic again on this pod. No, I get what you're saying. I want to ask you about Dennis Hildeby because I think crease stories are always great ones, and you know they needed somebody to step up. And for me, again, small sample size in this league. We've seen him at bits and pieces the last couple of years here, Dallas, but I think he's got all the makings of being an actual NHL goalie and a good NHL goalie just because of his size. If he can utilize his size, which I think has been a big story early on this season, he's playing big. And I think that helps. What's your read on Hildeby thus far?
Well, I always cheer for those guys that come in like that. And, you know, he gets put into two spots in one. He gets put into a challenging spot because he's got to throw this team on his back with the injuries to the other guys, but he gets put into a great spot. He's been sitting there with the Marlies. He's been sitting there in the summer dying for this opportunity. Man, I need a chance. I just need another chance. And well, here it is. And you know, when I had Rosie there in the American League, I used to tell the guys all the time, you got to live your life in that league by this. I'm getting called up tomorrow. I'm getting called up tomorrow. And you got to come in every day thinking that, so that you're prepared. So when you're on the drive up the road there to the Air Canada Center or whatever they call it now, or you're getting on a plane to join the team, that you're like, I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this. Not, oh crap, I haven't been putting in the work. And I always cheer for those guys. I love that he's come in and had success. And you know what? I was reading some stuff. Well, can he sustain it? Can he sustain it? It doesn't matter. You know what matters? Next game. That's all he's got to focus on. He doesn't have to focus on the winning his next 10. He's just got to focus on his game. He's got to give he's the only guy on the ice that's got to give his team 60 minutes. Everybody else has got to give 22 or 18 or 12 or whatever they're going to play. And I love when guys come in like that and have success. It's fun.
Yeah, and another guy who took the reins of opportunities, Troy Stecher on the back end. I mean, this was a pickup off of waivers, and usually that doesn't amount to a whole heck of a lot, just someone else just letting him go. And he's played 23, 24 minutes. He's kind of felt like the backbone of this back end. You know, you could argue Jake McCabe's up there too, but with the absence of Tanev, he's really stepped up. Does that remind you of anyone that you've seen? I mean, it's very rare for a waiver pickup to have this big of an impact on a team like this.
Yeah, you know what? That kid always stood out to me. Like I remember playing him when we were in the West there, and he always gave everything he had. Like he's not the biggest guy, he's not the most skilled, he's not the fastest guy, but man, you knew when he was on the ice. Like he was playing every shift like it might be his last one. Yeah. I had done some talking to people about him. He is just so revered and so respected by his teammates, like a really popular guy. And I think when you've been around the league a little bit, and he's been on a number of teams, like a lot of times you might be looking at this as going, holy man, like this might be my last chance. I don't know. Like this might be one of my few last chances. I'm going to make the most of it. And he's always been a kid to me that has given 100%. So he certainly has that never quit mindset, but it doesn't surprise me. Like, and I get what you're saying, like, okay, they got him off waivers and now he's playing 23 minutes a night. That is rare. But him playing hard and him playing well doesn't surprise me because of the effort and the passion that I've seen from him in the past. And then hearing what kind of guy he is, and the mindset that he has, it starts to add up. Now his challenge is, all right, can he sustain it? But like I said before, he doesn't have to sustain it for the rest of the season. He just has to sustain it for his next game. And when that one's over, then the next one. You just got to really break it down to minute by minute and day by day to get through this.
Been a really nice story for sure. Meantime, the captain, Auston Matthews, always so polarizing. I know you're out in Germany. I'm not sure if you caught this guy when he was out there last year. We're still trying to figure out why this guy was in Germany. But what's your overall read and take on where Auston Matthews is at in his career? Because it's such a big debate on a daily basis. Just a bit of a different player, I would say, to begin with.
Yeah, those top guys are always polarizing. With the one thing I will say, hey, there's lots of athletes that come to Germany for different kind of treatments, and they've got some really interesting stuff going on here. So that didn't surprise me at all. With Auston, like he is such a complete guy to me. Like I know he's a great goal scorer, but I was always amazed when we came in there at how well he checked. Like he quietly controlled the middle of the ice. His stick was unbelievable. He was always on the right side of the puck. He never cheated the game. Like he is quietly a really good player. And it's interesting, his personality. Like, that never discount how much that guy puts into a day being the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. There's a lot that comes with it. He has got to be really, really tough mentally. He's got to be able to get the noise out of his head because he's the one taking a lot of questions. He's the one that has to go out to the media and kind of set the tone on where the team's at. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. And I'm sure it's something that he wanted. I'm sure he's dreamed about being the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. But I just think you never count these guys out. He is, I think he's a great competitor, even though he seems very laid back off the ice, and that's fine. it's been real fun for me to watch this kid develop into what he is today.
Yeah, it's crazy how long he's been around when you look at it. And, lots of different opinions about this Leafs season, some ups and some downs, but we're approaching the 30-game mark here. What's your prediction for this team in the remainder of the season?
Well, number one, there's lots of runway left, right? There's over 50 games. Like I said before, don't ride the roller coaster. Just, hey, everybody settle in. I think everything's going to be okay. I do think their injuries, they've got to get that under control. And I know it's hard to keep them under control, but I think if the Leafs can get healthy, I think everybody can just breathe easy. Everything's going to be okay.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.